To live a lifetime, Weiyu vowed to make early plans, hide his sharpness and pretend to be sick and delicate. Even if he pretends to be a pig, he can still eat a tiger. Her father went missing and her clan competed for power. She showed her sharpness and forcefully seized the power of the head of the family, shouldering the future of the Liu family on her own. Conclusion. The Phoenix of the Farmhouse and The Hunting Woman of the Farmhouse, keywords of the novel. Empress Dowager. No pop-ups, Empress Dowager. Complete collection download, latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Not Dead Yet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Not Dead Yet. In the winter of the 17th year of Longyu, the cold wind was piercing, and the snow was falling profusely. A dilapidated courtyard in the Crown Prince's mansion. Suddenly, there were two clicks, and a leaning room couldn't bear the weight of the snow and collapsed with a loud bang. The sound of coughing echoed like a battlefield, adding to the tranquility of the small courtyard. Water. Weiyu woke up groggily. However, no matter how she shouted, there was no response. She vaguely remembered that there was originally a rough maid in this courtyard who was also transferred to Liu Qianqian's courtyard yesterday. Outside the small courtyard, a group of people holding umbrellas, carrying glass octagonal lamps, and carrying a warm sedan chair with embroidered curtains, slowly walked over. The sound of creaking, stepping on the snow is like the sound of a beginner playing the eru, dull and unpleasant. A group of people kicked open the courtyard door, and a door panel creaked and fell to the side. The woman in the warm sedan chair gently lifted the embroidered curtain, her eyes flashing with excitement. But the cough coming from the dilapidated cabin disappointed her a bit. Sister, you're so stubborn. She's so sick and hasn't died yet. The woman got off the soft sedan chair and was slowly helped into the room by two women in brocade, lazily speaking. A shabby wooden bed with grey and black curtains hanging on it, it's hard to see how haggard the people on the bed are. But her voice still couldn't conceal her jealousy. Good sister, you won't live long anyway. Why don't you go early so that you can make room for my younger sister? The cough suddenly stopped. After the sound of leaking breath, I continued to cough. You see, you are neither favored or blessed by the Crown Prince, nor can you give birth to a dragon Sunday. I am fortunate enough to be pregnant with my younger sister, and the imperial physician also said she is a dragon Sunday. For the glory of the Liu family, shouldn't you make way for my younger sister? You keep hanging on like this, little sister. When can I become the Crown Prince's consort? How can my child become the legitimate son? Liu Qianqian's makeup is exquisite, and her smile is charming and charming. Liu Weiyu finally suppressed her voice. If you're so heavy, restless, and angry, you're not afraid. Chicken flying, egg beating. Although Weiyu is the legitimate daughter of the Wuchangbo mansion, being able to marry the Crown Prince has already exhausted the luck accumulated by the Liu family's ancestors. Liu Qianqian is an illegitimate daughter of the uncle's mansion. She was taken into the Crown Prince's mansion as a private possession because her eldest sister was poisoned and unable to conceive before marrying into the Crown Prince's mansion, and was favored. Not to mention that sisters guard Liu with all their heart, they kill her first and want to replace her. Don't be afraid of being pushed out as a shield. Is Rong Chong just playing with a bamboo basket in vain now? Liu Qianqian listened to Weiyu gasping for breath, and it took him a long time to hold back such a sentence. She became even more proud and laughed sarcastically. Suddenly, his gaze sank and a proud chill flickered from above. Sister, you have been too worried. Since I can smoothly enter the Crown Prince's mansion and conceive the dragon son, I have been granted the title of concubine. Naturally, she can also become the Crown Prince's consort smoothly, and in the future, her mother will become the empress with her son's high status, which is just around the corner. Besides, my mother is plotting for me behind the scenes. Who dares to plan against my concubine? I dare. Weiyu suddenly raised her forehead. Her eyes widened in anger, and a flash of light flashed through her dark eyes. The dagger she had been holding in her hand suddenly threw upwards. Boom! The small house had only one main beam, which suddenly collapsed and broke, and the roof made a loud noise and suddenly fell down. Amidst the screams, Lu Weiyu's mouth curved with a mocking smile and closed her eyes. An ambitious but restless illegitimate daughter, a greedy and mysterious stepmother, End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Rebirth in Youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Rebirth in Youth. After a long time, the body that had been sinking suddenly became lighter and seemed to be pulled up by a force. Who is it? Who didn't let her sink into the underworld? Who is preventing her from meeting her mother who has already passed away, and from finding her younger brother who was killed by someone? Coming up. Coming up. Thank goodness. Thanks to your Highness's expertise in water management. Is this a water problem? It's thanks to your Highness being nearby and saving it in time. Big brother, second brother, are you not ashamed? Are you still in trouble? If I had to say it, I was also fortunate that your Highness did not argue with you. His cousin fell into the water and had to rely on the main hall to save her. Blame me. Isn't there such a danger when you drag your cousin Weiyu to play by the lake? How dare you run up such a thin ice surface? Do you still want to reflect on your own fate? I was wrong. The voices of several people occasionally penetrated into Lu Weiyu's ears, causing her to be confused. This voice seems to have been heard before. Is this a dream? When Lu Weiyu finally opened her heavy eyes and saw the unfamiliar and familiar environment, she was momentarily stunned. This is her boudoir. This is Wu Chang uncle's mansion. Isn't she dead? When feeling dizzy and trying to stand up, suddenly there was a surge of qi and blood, and a sweet smell in the throat. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the dull chest suddenly relaxed, making breathing smoother. Cousin, wake up. Slight rain. Slight rain, can you? Two teenagers ran in and happened to see the red blood that Lu Weiyu had vomited by the bed, both looking frightened. I'll go chase the doctor. The older boy first regained his senses and suddenly ran outside. My cousin was rescued after falling into the water, and the government immediately invited a doctor to come and diagnose her. It is said that one has been frightened and caught a cold, and needs to take medication to regulate and rest, but it is not said that one will vomit blood. The shouting outside and the worried face of the young man by the bed all brought Lu Weiyu back to his senses. They are second cousin and third cousin. It's just like a long, long time ago. She slowly raised her hands to look, pinched her face, and suddenly spoke, mirror. Ha! The young man was still a bit stunned when he heard her voice. Mirror. Lu Weiyu wanted to get out of bed and go get the mirror herself. Don't move. I'll take it. The young man reacted and quickly ran to the dressing table to get a peach blossom glass mirror and handed it to her. Lu Weiyu looked at her face in the mirror, which was familiar with her youthful appearance. She was stunned again and then widened her eyes, looking incredulous. She is this. Revive a lifetime and return to your youth. Now she is not the crown princess who has lost her parents and younger brother, been manipulated by her stepmother, and even her illegitimate sister can step on her head. But it's Lu Weiyu, the eldest daughter of Wu Changbo, who is still in the boudoir. Looking towards the bedside again, the young man looked cautiously at her. Lin Zhanhong, the third cousin of General Lin's family, is the legitimate mother. Past events gradually surged into her heart, and her gaze also tinged with coldness. Now is the 9th year of Longyu, winter moon. She slowly put down her small mirror and spoke in a cold voice. She remembered the winter 12th 8 years ago. She was invited by Lu Qianxian to enjoy the snow by the lake in the backyard, and when she went, she only saw Lin Zhanhong about to play on the frozen lake surface. She thought it was too dangerous and ran to stop him, but the lake was too slippery and both of them fell towards the center of the lake. The ice suddenly broke, but unfortunately she fell down. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The killing machine has been hidden. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The killing machine has been hidden. After being rescued from drowning, she fell seriously ill and did not recover until the spring and summer of the following year. In the past few months, Lu Qianshan took her place and attended various winter and spring banquets in various prefectures, as well as palace banquets with her father. There is even a flower banquet for the crown prince's 17th birthday. There are rumors circulating outside. It is said that Lady Wu Chang may not be good. Aunt Yang is about to be rehabilitated, and Lu Qianshan will also become the legitimate daughter with her mother's high status. The memories of 8 years ago turned out to be hidden, but she didn't think much about it. Lu Weiyu slowly raised her gaze and looked out the silver-red screen window. It's snowing outside, isn't it? She murmured. In my memory, after the snow, it rained continuously for several days. In the same mansion, each courtyard didn't move much anymore, cold and isolated from the world, which also gave her the first taste of loneliness. Later on, she realized that this taste was just the beginning. It's been 2 times now. You're sick and confused, are you? Lin Zhanhong couldn't help but extend his palm to his cousin's forehead. He still felt guilty when he said that. If it weren't for him playing on the frozen lake surface, how could it have caused a slight rain to fall into the water? The elder brother was right in cursing, but he was the one who made the mistake first. Not only did he harm his cousin, but he also implicated his highness. Big brother took the main hall down to the front yard to dry clothes, and he was constantly complained by his second brother, almost going to beat him up. However, Lu Weiyu blocked his outstretched palm and looked at Lin Zhanhong with an indifferent gaze. Why haven't you seen your Qianshan cousin? Cough. Lin Zhanhong suddenly looked a bit unnatural and turned his gaze away. Qianshan, she's still young. Don't blame her for the light rain, said Chanran. What's wrong with her? Lu Weiyu said lightly. The whole thing is indeed not the fault of Lu Qianshan, except for a few complaints. There is no accountability. In her past life, she didn't take this matter to heart either. On the contrary, it was the words of her third cousin who complained about her small bellies and mistreatment of her younger sister, which made her feel aggrieved. Until entering the crown prince's mansion. When Lu Qianshan launched a surprise attack from behind and pushed her into the lake, causing her to get cold and sick, he only revealed this secret 8 years ago. Everything was intentionally done by her, because Sanbiao Gu was too easy to use. Similarly, she did not speak, and Lu Qianshan, the villain, filed a lawsuit against her, which resulted in her being punished by the crown prince. Not long after that, Lu Qianshan became pregnant and said she wanted a good yard to have a baby. Her main courtyard was vacated. It was too late for her to see the true face of her younger sister. She couldn't believe that the girl, who was only 11 years old, had such a cunning plan, and the conspiracy began so early. Or is it that Aunt Yang has always been ambitious and has been staring at her and her mother's positions for a long time? Mother Lu Weiyu suddenly struggled to get out of bed when she thought of this. She wanted to go see her mother. What are you doing in the light rain? Lie down well. Lin Zhanhong quickly stopped and anxiously turned his head to look out. Second brother went to pursue the doctor. Why haven't he returned yet? Third cousin, you're just an outsider. Don't stay with me for too long. It's not very pleasant to hear rumors about it. Lu Weiyu didn't like the blooming of the forest and began to chase after customers. What are you talking about? It's me who caused you to fall into the lake. Of course, I have to stay here and wait for you to get better. Lin Zhanhong explained with a guilty heart. Fortunately, the doctor was finally found by his second cousin Lin Kangjia. Cousin, how are you? Old man, hurry up. Lin Kongjie shouted impatiently. How did you come? Lin Zhanhong complained. Qianqian's cousin fell ill, and the doctor was invited by Aunt Yang, which caused a delay. Why is Qianqian sick? Lin Zhanhong immediately asked anxiously. Lu Weiyu's gaze flickered slightly and suddenly asked, yes, why is Qianqian sick? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The status of the first daughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The status of the first daughter. Miss Air has contracted a wind cold, and her symptoms are much milder than Miss Da's. Taking the side medicine will make her sweat better. The old man spoke, but his gaze was fixed on the large mass of blood, frowning with some confusion. No matter how severe the wind and cold are, you won't vomit blood. Originally, it was assumed that young Master Lin didn't know the importance of his words, but it turned out to be true. The old man immediately took another pulse for Lu Weiyu and carefully asked her how she felt. Lu Weiyu had no intention of answering. I saw two cousins standing by the bed, one with a serious expression and the other with an absent mind. She suddenly spoke up and called out a name she hadn't called in a long time. Luer. Luer. Stop shouting, Lu Er didn't take good care of you. She has already been consulted by Aunt Yang with her uncle, and she has resorted to domestic violence. She can't take care of you at this moment. Because the second brother remained silent, Lin Zhanhong explained impatiently. Lu Weiyu remembered that in her previous life, in the first few days of her recovery, she had never seen Lu Er. Oh, so is my maid responsible for my falling into the lake? Is it not the responsibility of the other people in the mansion? Is it not the responsibility of Lu Qianqian, who insists that I go to the lake? What's the matter with Guan Qianqian? Don't pull her down. Bullying the younger sister is nothing, Lin Zhanhong frowned and said unhappily. Oh, the one who should bear the most responsibility is you, third cousin. If it weren't for you, how could I have fallen into the lake? Lu Weiyu sneered and immediately changed his tone, pointing directly at Lin Zhanhong's responsibility. You think it's appropriate for my maid to be punished? Lu Qianqian shouldn't be punished, shouldn't you too? Lu Weiyu's questioning was hostile, and Lin Zhanhong's face changed. There's no one dead outside. Someone go and invite father. Lu Weiyu suddenly breathed a sigh and shouted outside. She has been waking up for so long, and surprisingly no girl came in to ask, only two cousins are here. What the hell is it? Even if she had been down in her past life, it wouldn't have been the past 2 years. Luer is still there, and there are 4 second-class maids outside. Her Qingfeng courtyard also has 6 third-class maids and 6 mother.in.law. This is her status as the legitimate daughter of the uncle's mansion. Lu Tianyao hurried to the front yard. Father is in a hurry to spoil his concubine and destroy his wife. Lu Weiyu asked after 2 lifetimes of seeing his father again. What nonsense! Lu Tianyao's eyes sank and he scolded. My mother hasn't died yet, why did this mansion get a concubine to be the head of the household? She even beat the young lady's intimate maid. Lu Er's poor care and inadequate protection of the Lord should be punished. Lu Tianyao said solemnly. Even if I have to punish or kill, it should be my own business. When could an aunt extend her hand so long in the courtyard of the eldest daughter of the Tang Tang uncle's mansion? I woke up so long, not a single girl was seen, it turned out to be 2 cousins in the room. When my father delegated power to his concubine, did he think about it? Where does my eldest daughter's face go? Where does my mother's wife's face go? Where does the face of General Lin's mansion go? Punish based on facts, Lu Qianqian is the initiator. I just got out of the lake and she called me to the lakeside but didn't go herself. Why did she immediately catch a cold? Are you trying to evade the charge of plotting to harm your eldest sister through illness? Intentionally but unintentionally, one always makes mistakes, so it's better to keep a low profile and not rush to extend the claws of the power struggle demonstration into our courtyard. Don't get too excited, Xiaoyu. Lin Zhanhong shouted, it's all my fault, just punish me. Qianqian is already sick, why are you so aggressive? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Gives you an explanation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 gives you an explanation. Oh, father can't distinguish between wife and concubine, and cousin can't distinguish who is his own cousin. I wonder if General Lin's mansion can still distinguish whether the daughter who married into the Lu family back then was surnamed Lin or Yang. Lu Weiyu ignored Lin Zhanhong's noise and looked mockingly at Lu Tianyao. The age and appearance are still 11 or 2 years old, but this aura is a profound one that has been precipitated from the hardships of previous lives. A few words are like a hat being buttoned up. Not only did Lu Tianyao feel surprised, but even Lin Kongjie felt surprised. When did the stubborn cousin who beat Xiaojiao become so sharp? Today's incident was caused by Zhan Hong's mischievous behavior, and he should take responsibility. Lin Kongjie was the first to speak up. When I return, I will truthfully report to my father and handle it impartially. I should also give you an explanation, my cousin. Lin Kongjie finished speaking and bowed to Lu Tianyao. Uncle, my cousin's words are reasonable. I witnessed this with my third brother. Aunt Yang dragged her cousin's eldest maid Lu Er and beat her severely, and the 4 maids below were also beaten, and they were all locked up in the firewood room. There were only a few rough maids and mother-in-law in the courtyard, and there was no one to take care of my cousin. It was only my third brother and I who stayed here to take care of them personally. I thought it was a household matter in Uncle's mansion, but we didn't say much, but my nephew is well aware that the daughter married by General Lin's mansion is surnamed Lin, not Yang. His words are undoubtedly the statement of General Lin's mansion. If I care about it, it will be chaotic. I will handle this matter on my own and let Yang's fox pretend to be a tiger. Only then did Lu Tianyao speak up. Lu Tianyao didn't want to continue this topic, he looked at the old man. Chu Lao, how's the light rain going? Dr. Chu is the head physician of the Revival Hall, with superb medical skills, but at this moment, his expression is different. Is there any condition that he cannot diagnose? Originally, it was just a cold and frightened weather, but now, said Dr. Chu hesitantly. I cannot diagnose the cause of this mouthful of blood. He turned sideways, and the blood on the bedside curtain fell into Lu Tianyao's eyes. What's going on here? Lu Tianyao looked at Lu Weiyu in surprise. It should be angry. Lu Weiyu then showed an aggrieved expression, his eyes slightly turning red. I was originally reading in the house, but someone kept pulling me out to enjoy the snow. I was told to go back and add some clothes first, and then I disappeared. I was pulled and slid into the lake, and then into the water. When I woke up and shouted no response, I spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Weiyu knew in her heart that this blood might be related to rebirth, and at the last moment of her death, the roof beam collapsed. She didn't die of illness, she must have been crushed to death. But she insisted on saying that, not to mention grievances, everywhere was wronged, making Lu Tianyao feel guilty. I will definitely explain this to you from my father. Don't think recklessly, take good care of yourself, and don't be stubborn when listening to Grandpa Chu. Uncle, go ahead and get busy. I'll start with a conditioning prescription. At this young age, vomiting blood can be big or small, and I can't be careless. Chu Laolang said. Grandpa Chu, please treat Lu Er and the others. They are also hard-working and should not be harmed. Now that my mother is sick and unable to take care of us, Lu Er and the others are also at risk of being bullied. Lu Weiyu said with a sad expression on her face. As if accused, Lu Tianyao's face was filled with a burning sense of shame and he quickly walked out. Call someone to go to the woodshed and bring Lu Er and the others back. Third cousin, why don't you go see your good sister? She's caught in the cold and escaped a disaster. As soon as Lu Tianyao left, Lu Weiyu immediately turned his spear towards Lin Zhanhong. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Rules. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Rules. Lin Zhanhong's face turned red and white, shy and angry when he was told, and he suddenly turned his head and ran away. Cousin, don't disturb your aunt about this matter. She's just getting better these days, Lin Kongjie said at this moment. Of course, but I can't get up now either. Third cousin can't rely on me, so I have to work hard. Second cousin, you can go to the main courtyard to explore the wind. Lu Weiyu said in a low voice, I hope my mother doesn't know yet. Please tell Grandma Lin that I have nothing to do. Let her keep an eye on me and not let any external matters be exposed to my mother. Otherwise, it will be detrimental to my recovery. Also, it's getting cold, so take good care of Zheng'er. Don't let Zheng'er leave the yard. If there's any mistake, I won't spare it. Could you please call in all the others in my courtyard when you go out? She repeatedly explained that it was a comprehensive arrangement. Lin Kongjie gave her a deep glance, then turned around and strode out. Little Rain Girl, it's not easy for you either. As soon as Lin Kongjie left, Dr. Chu shook his head with emotion. Uncle Taisher, is my mother's illness really better? I always feel like it's not that simple. Lu Weiyu thought of her past life experiences and asked questions. The people of Bo Mansion only know that Chu Laolang is the head physician of the Huichun Hall, with excellent medical skills. He is not only in the capital but also in this great Xia dynasty, and is a well-known doctor. Only a few members of the legitimate lineage know that Chu Laolang was the junior brother of Lady Lu of the Lu family, all of whom came from the famous Xinglin sect, the Chongshan family. Your mother. Her condition doesn't recur or worsen in this weather, it just feels better. Chu Laolang explained it tactfully. At this moment, 12 people walked into the door. I wrote a conditioning prescription and used it together with the medicine I used to treat wind and cold. Dr. Chu walked to the outside hall and opened the medical box to start writing prescriptions. 6 young maidservants followed behind their 6 women in their 40s, anxiously lowering their heads. They are all rough servants of the Qinfeng Academy and are not qualified to enter the Mrs. room on a regular basis. Even the 4 second-class maids Mei, Lan, Zhu, and Ju, who entered the young ladies' room to do things, left after finishing them. The only one who can enter and exit the Mrs. room casually is Lu Er. Today's incident, Lu Er was also the most severely punished, and it is still unknown whether she can survive. My Qinfeng courtyard is not an unowned courtyard. People outside can step on it whenever they want, but you pretend to be deaf and mute. From today on, who dares to bully the people in my Qinfeng Academy? Let's all go up together. If any aunt or servant can act recklessly in my legitimate daughter's courtyard, you cannot be loyal to the master. I dare not. The 12 of them were so frightened that they knelt down with a few thugs. Now Luer and the others have been bullied. When you come back later, you can assign tasks yourself. The gatekeepers, the ones who serve medicine and tea, and the ones who take care of them, as well as the ones responsible for the fires in each room, all have their own responsibilities assigned to them. Remember, the Qinfeng courtyard is our own place. If we don't care about it and don't take care of it, the offender will be punished with 50 strokes. If you're dead, throw it out. If you're not dead, throw it out. Lu Weiyu originally wanted to talk about the rules again, but the strength she had been carrying was not enough. I didn't want to show weakness in front of the servants, so I had to make a long story short, and after a few taps, I asked the people to step down. Not long after, Lu Er had 2 housekeepers use door panels to lift her back, and she was still unconscious. The other 4, who were slightly injured, came in crying and knelt to recount their passing. Lu Weiyu waved his hand and said weakly, let's go down and recuperate first. We'll wait until we have the strength to do anything. A few people had just left when the butler also arrived, standing outside in the small hall to convey the master's disposal results. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Miss, don't worry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Miss, don't worry. The Grand Chamberlain of Wuchangbo Mansion is a person who has been the head of the family for generations. No matter what happens in this mansion, he only obeys the orders of the head and does not choose to stand on the side. The head of this generation is Lu Tianyao. He said he wanted to give an explanation to Lu Weiyu, but as a result, he released Lu Er and the others and asked Chu Laolang to treat the injuries. And the handling of Aunt Yang was a reprimand and a full month's ban. As for Lu Qianxian, due to insufficient evidence or stubbornness, he made a big mistake and was also banned for a full month of reflection. This kind of punishment is not painful or itchy for Aunt Yang, and it also fulfills the reason for Lu Qianxian to contract the cold and stay in seclusion. Disposal. Explain. Lu Weiyu let out a faint sound. Having experienced her past life, she naturally understood that she had to fight for what she wanted on her own, and to protect her, she also had to rely on her strength. Thanks for Grandpa Zhou's visit. Although I am not satisfied with this explanation, my father has a heart to protect me, and I am helpless. Fortunately, he was lucky enough to be rescued from the lake and spit out a few mouthfuls of blood. He didn't die at all, so we should be grateful. It's just that someone in this backyard, seeing their mistress lying ill, can't help but be tempted by her ambitions. If the power of the family is taken away, I'm afraid there won't be any place for my legitimate residence in the backyard of this uncle's mansion anymore. Lu Weiyu covered her face and wiped away her tears as she spoke, her voice choking up, so pitiful. The butler's name is Zhou Hian, and he is a member of the previous head of the family. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. Miss, there's no need to worry. The grand uncle's mansion is not as chaotic as this. I am in charge outside, and there are also women in charge of various affairs in the inner courtyard. When it's inconvenient for my mother-in-law, they will report to me and won't be disturbed by others for personal gain. I will also pay more attention in the future, and if there are any abnormalities, I will not neglect to investigate. This is explaining to Lu Weiyu that with him watching, Uncle's mansion will not be chaotic, and the inner courtyard will be closely monitored. He is also expressing his position to the legitimate young lady. Lu Weiyu took a slow breath and politely said, "Then let's work hard, Grandpa Zhou. My maid has been intimidated by someone, I'm afraid she won't be able to serve me these days. Please ask Grandpa Zhou to help me pick 2 clever and more loyal maids over, otherwise I'm afraid I won't even be able to drink a sip of water." Lu Weiyu spoke pitifully, still mocking the unfairness of the family leader. The butler lowered his eyes and quickly agreed. After the butler left, old Master Chu spoke up and said, "Girl, please take a break. I'll go see Lu Er and her." "Thank you, Grand Master." Coughing. Lu Weiyu leaned on the edge of the bed, coughing and trembling, feeling weak. Dr. Chu shook his head helplessly, took out a celadone vase, and poured out a pill for Lu Weiyu to eat first. "Cough calming, I didn't give you any food until I knew you had something to deal with. You should rest well now, don't let your illness linger." "Yes." Cough. At this moment, the essence and spirit that Lu Weiyu had been carrying all along were also depleted, and he quickly fell asleep. When she woke up again, it was already dark outside. Mei, Lan, Zhu, and Zhu watched anxiously by the bed, and when they saw her wake up, they immediately smiled with joy. "Miss, you've woken up. Miss, are you hungry? I'll heat up the congee." "Miss, Lu Er just woke up once and was still reciting 'Miss' in her mouth. The old doctor said that after eating congee, he would take medicine, and then use the medicine soup to make a good bubble to force the cold out. It would be better soon." The 4 of them kept talking and got busy. Looking at the 4 familiar faces, Lu Weiyu's eyes lit up and she almost shed tears. At this moment, a thud came from outside. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Auspiciousness and Auspiciousness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Auspiciousness and Auspiciousness. I wish you an auspicious visit, Mississippi. I wish to pay my respects to the young lady. A familiar voice suddenly sounded, and Lu Weiyu was stunned. Immediately exclaimed with joy, "Come in. They're here." I didn't expect the butler to send them over so quickly, even if it was just a brief 3-year relationship. They were still two capable helpers. Two identical girls in blue walked in, bowed their heads and bowed their hands, looking very respectful and humble. The two faces are identical, but they can be distinguished from the eyebrows and temperament. One is heroic, the other is gentle. When Lu Weiyu saw them, she felt much more at ease and decided to be a first-class maid. Mei, Lan, Zhu, and Ju were all taken aback by the news. "They are the people arranged by the butler," Lu Weiyu said with a light glance. With just one sentence, the girls' thoughts were taken aback. Soon, Mei, Lan, Zhu and Ju brought hot congee medicine, and Rui and Ji Xiang went to prepare a medicine bath. In fact, Lu Weiyu has not eaten for a long time in his life. At the entrance of the hot congee, tears suddenly came down. Several maids were all shocked. "I don't know what's wrong with Mississippi." "Nothing, just experiencing life and death. I still have lingering palpitations." Lu Weiyu waved his hand and stopped eating. She took the medicine bowl and took a few sips of it herself, without even frowning. After finishing, she let out a sigh and didn't want to eat any preserves. Her abnormality caused Mei, Lan, Bamboo, and Chrysanthemum to be shocked, and she couldn't believe that this was a young lady who would find it difficult to swallow any medicine. Half a bowl of hot congee and a bowl of hot medicine. Lu Weiyu is already sweating, and then he takes a hot medicine bath. Ji Xiang and Rui added an extra charcoal cage to the room, fearing that the young lady might freeze. In the delicate and elegant warm chamber of the boudoir, water mist and hot smoke intertwine, and the air is filled with a strong medicinal smell. Lu Weiyu sweated and felt much more relaxed. She sat in front of the makeup mirror, combing her hair back and forth, looking at her youthful expression in the mirror, her thoughts drifting away. Ji Xiang picked a plum blossom and put it in a vase, placing it on the corner table on the east side. The cold fragrance of plum blossoms slowly emanated from the room where the earth dragon had been burned, diluting the medicinal smell in the room. Rui came in to urge Lu Weiyu to rest early. The next day when I woke up, it was already morning and Dr. Chu had already arrived. Chu Laolang just gave Lu Er and a few others a follow-up visit. After knowing that Lu Weiyu had already risen, he came over to give her a follow-up consultation, praising Rui's understanding of pharmacology and making it more convenient to take care of the injured. Lu Weiyu smiled faintly and agreed. Of course, she knows how good the sisters is. She was sent by Mammy Lin later when she was ill and nobody cared for her. I didn't expect that this life was arranged by the butler of Zhou, and the time was advanced by 2 days. And the auspiciousness of her past life still saved her a lot of trouble. It snowed outside for 3 consecutive days without stopping. Lu Weiyu also falls asleep drowsily every day, and every time she wakes up, she eats something, drinks medicine, and continues to sleep. During this period, my second cousin Lin Kongjie represented General Lin's mansion to visit Lu Weiyu and sent many supplements. However, Lu Weiyu was sleeping and couldn't see it. After having a maid in the room, Lin Kongjie could no longer casually walk to Lu Weiyu's bedroom and was stopped in the small hall, without even seeing his face. On the 4th day, the snow finally stopped, and the sun began to shine in the afternoon. Lu Weiyu, dressed in a thick coat and fox fur, lifted a corner of the window and looked out at the snow. Behind me is Ji Xiang talking about various things in the mansion these days. It is well known throughout the entire Bo mansion that Lu Qianshan was banned for a full month, but she walked out of the yard early yesterday morning. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Greetings to Grandmother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Greetings to Grandmother. It was snowy and cold outside, but Lu Qianqian sat in a warm sedan chair for 2 consecutive days and went to her grandmother's Su Xin hall. My father, as the head of the household, issued a foot ban and was able to run outside in just 2 days, still running every day. Should we say that she is a commoner who is bold and reckless, or should we say that she has the ability to make her father retract the punishment? Since Lu Qianqian wants to break through with his grandmother, let her jump first. 3 more days later, Lu Weiyu's body finally improved. Apart from still having cough and asthma, the person has also lost some weight, everything else is fine. After returning to Dr. Chu for a follow-up visit, she was allowed to be discharged from the hospital, which led to her taking action. The road from Qingfeng Academy to Suxin Hall is not too far, passing through a plum garden and then bypassing the library to reach it. As soon as the early morning sun appeared, Lu Weiyu wrapped himself in fox fur and left the yard, carrying only the auspicious 2. Ji Xiang is holding a food box in her hand, while Rui is holding a small bundle in her hand. After the snow stopped, the roads leading to various places were cleared, which did not hinder walking, but the cold and humid atmosphere was everywhere. Especially in the early morning garden, the wind is gentle and the snow is rustling, making it unbearable for those who have just recovered from a serious illness. Lu Weiyu wrapped her fox fur tightly and walked quickly. When she entered the Suxin Hall, she was already panting heavily, which frightened Grandma Chang. "Miss, why are you here? You're still sick. Come in and warm up quickly." Grandma Chang. Lu Weiyu saluted Grandma Chang. The pale little face now wore a strange red cloud. Although she was sick, she didn't rush into the inner room. Instead, she slowly adjusted her breathing, as if she didn't want anyone to notice that she was sick. She tried her best to conceal her weakness. Her cautious appearance is even more heartbreaking. How dare Grandma Chang let her freeze outside? Quickly pulled the person into the soft couch and sat down, then stuffed a stove into her hand. "You child, you're so thin that you're still thinking about your grandmother." Grandma Chang is the dowry maid of the old lady, and she is the most reliable person to accompany her throughout her life. Lu Weiyu would also bow to her and dare not neglect her. "I'm already doing well, thinking it's been a while since I last came to greet my grandmother. This morning, I had someone make some plum blossom pancakes over, and..." When Lu Weiyu said this, he lowered his gaze to dispel the fear and unease in his eyes, and his voice weakened. "I haven't paid my respects to my grandfather for a long time. These days, I have been recuperating and have copied a few volumes of scriptures, hoping to present them to my grandfather's spirit." Her words had already stunned Grandma Chang, and it took her a long time to ask in confusion, "What is this? How do you say it?" Lu Weiyu, however, shyly turned his gaze away, looking hesitant to speak. At this moment, Warm Room lifted the curtain and Mrs. Lu, who looked thin but had a kind face, walked out. Lu Weiyu quickly got up and walked over, about to kneel and kowtow. Mrs. Lu quickly asked the maid to help her. "You child, even if you're sick, it's not a worry. Coming on such a cold day makes my grandmother feel heartbroken." Mrs. Lu pulled her granddaughter and watched as her small face slimmed down, her chin becoming sharper, and she let out a helpless sigh in her heart. Although she lives deep in the Suxin Hall, fasting and reciting Buddhism, she still knows some things about the outside world. Besides, Lu Qianqian has come to accompany her to eat and recite Buddhism these past 2 days. These 2 granddaughters are both sensible and make her feel heartbroken. Lu Weiyu looked at her once familiar face and smiled with mixed emotions. "Grandmother, my illness has greatly improved. Don't you trust my illness or Grandpa Chu's medical skills?" "That's it." Mrs. Lu smiled at the words. "Just pull the landing light rain through the porch and walk towards another room, which is her Buddhist temple." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Borrowing words from grandfather. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Borrowing words from grandfather. Just now you said you were going to pay respects to your grandfather. It's not the 1st or 15th day of junior high school. Why did you suddenly have this idea and even copied scriptures? After getting up early, Mrs. Lu has a habit of going to the Buddhist temple for morning classes before having meals. If the people in the mansion come to pay their respects, they will come later, and if they come early, they will have to wait. Just. Lu Weiyu hesitated and refused to say. But when I entered the Buddhist temple, my eyes suddenly turned red and I walked up to a cattail and knelt down. Dong 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 dong. First he honestly knocked his head 4 times, then his palms closed, and his voice was slightly choked. Thank you to my grandfather for saving Weiyu's life, which should not have been completely reborn. A quiet sentence made Mrs. Lu's face change. After silently reciting another wish, Lu Weiyu stood up. Taking a porcelain plate from Jixiang's hand, inside was the plum blossom cake made by Rui this morning. Presented in front of General Lu Tingji's memorial tablet on the Buddha's altar. Opened the bundle in Rui's hand again. She placed the diamond sutra she had transcribed these days on her head with both hands in front of the Buddha niche, and only after bowing respectfully placed it on the Buddha's table. Seeing her so serious and with the same words as before, Mrs. Lu forgot about today's morning class and only stared at her. Light rain, what's going on? Grandmother, my former son almost died when he fell into the lake. I saw my grandfather in chaos. My grandfather, holding a golden halberd in his hand, drove away the darkness and ordered me to turn back, saying that my life should not be cut off. As long as I turn back, there will be a true dragon to protect me. When I woke up, I spat out a mouthful of blood, and the person was already in the room. These days, I've been thinking about it a bit and can't distinguish between what's true and what's illusory. So, I copied the scriptures and focused my mind, and as I copied, I woke up. Perhaps my subconscious act of copying scriptures is exactly what my grandfather wanted. I copied the scripture and decided to be enshrined in my grandmother's Buddhist temple, so it was my grandfather who reminded me that it was time to pay my grandmother's respects. I dare not delay trying to understand these things. I came today. The lack of filial piety in the light rain has worried my grandparents. After finishing speaking, Lu Weiyu bowed to Madame Lu with a guilty expression on his face. Mrs. Lu helped her granddaughter, her eyes also turning red, and she knelt down in front of the Buddha's table after a while. She suppressed excitement in her eyes and recited Amitabha Buddha several times before slowly speaking. Light rain, today I have morning classes with my grandmother to thank your grandfather for his protection. Yes, Lu Weiyu knelt down again and recited the scriptures with Mrs. Lu in a low voice. A diamond sutra of over 5,000 words requires a long recitation. After a long time, Lu Qianqian also arrived. When she arrived directly at the Buddhist temple and saw the person kneeling inside, she was immediately shocked. Grandma Chang, who was guarding outside the Buddhist temple, gave her a surprised look. Lu Qianqian quickly lowered her head and quietly walked in, kneeling down on the other side of Lady Lu. Mrs. Lu and Lu Weiyu got up first after finishing morning classes. Lu Qianqian didn't dare to fall behind, so he quickly kowtowed a few heads and stood up, immediately supporting Mrs. Lu. Greetings to my grandmother. I have seen my sister, but last time I implicated her in falling into the water and getting sick. Qianqian felt very uneasy in her heart. He begged his father to postpone the ban on foot and allowed Qianqian to come to his grandmother's Buddhist temple every day to eat vegetarian food and worship Buddha, praying for his sister's blessings. Only when my sister recovers from illness can Qianqian rest assured and restrain her feet. Seeing her sister getting better today, Qianqian was satisfied and said goodbye to her grandmother. She then went back to Yuehuaxian to reflect in seclusion. Lu Qianqian kept explaining and admitting her mistakes, her small face momentarily joyful and sad, but also showing a resolute and unwavering attitude. Madame Lu couldn't bear to look at Lu Weiyu. A light rain, Qianqian was also unintentional. End of this chapter.